let's back up for just a second and break this one down, because this was the thing that I wanted to see the most of this week, because it felt like a theory that we were attaching ourselves to as far as the Bucs running backs were concerned, because in the last month they had only led for a handful of snaps. So this was an environment in which we had not seen them play with much frequency. And by the way, their schedule down the stretch is such where I think that we will probably see them leading more frequently than not. Yesterday, they led the entire game. Bucky scored 27.1 fantasy points to Rachaad White's 11.7, had 12 rush attempts and 6 catches. Rachaad ended up with 12 rush attempts and 1 catch. But by the way, a lot of those rush attempts were like garbage time rush attempts, because for a very long time, it was really lopsided in favor of Bucky for at least the first half of the game, like while they established what they were doing. So that's worth mentioning, right? Like Rachaad, even if it is garbage time, that plays into this situation. But Bucky was the priority in this offense yesterday by a lot. He was also a much better running back by a lot, plus 0.17 EPA per attempt. Rachaad White, as has been the case since last season, which is why they went and got Bucky, which is why those of us that were into Bucky this offseason were into him, because Rachaad White has never been an efficient runner. Negative 0.36 EPA per attempt. He was negative rushing yards over expectation per attempt, whereas Bucky was positive. Bucky averaged 7.3 yards per carry to Rachaad's 3.1 yards per carry. The most notable stat in this game for them, though, is that 6 catches on 6 targets for Bucky. Rachaad White, 1 catch. If he's on the field more because they're leading and he's the better running back, it's going to put him in position to be an outlet pass or whatever. He's going to get more catches. They're not just going to only throw on like third down or whatever when it's a passing down. You bring Rachaad White on the field. So I think we're going to see a lot more Bucky on the field down the stretch. I think what we saw play out yesterday, we're going to see with more frequency down the stretch. And this is not a sit Rachaad White, though you certainly weren't looking for 11 points out of him yesterday. It is a play Bucky Irving. And I think that for the most part this season, we're looking at Rachaad White. We're looking at Rachaad White is a guy that you definitely play. And Bucky's more of like a borderline. Like if you need someone, maybe he's a good flex. Maybe if you're looking for an RB2, something like that. I think that it's kind of flipped now. I think that the roles flip.
But I also think that the point you made was a good one yesterday, in that if they're playing an opponent that they may be, let's say, down behind in the second half, it may be more of a White game than a Bucky game. All right, dirtbags, let's talk about other ways to play fantasy football. Do you guys know about Prize Picks? It's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks.
You can turn your hot takes into cash, Fabs. Listen here to figure out which players have the best matchups of the week. We always talk about guys that we like more or less depending on their matchup. Then take that information and flip on over to Prize Picks. See if you think that those players that we talked about will have more or less than the numbers that they have attached to them. It could be number of catches. It could be number of yards. It could be number of touchdowns. You can do it all in less than 60 seconds. It's quick and easy. And if you have a strong take about a guy that you don't have on your fantasy team, this is the place to put that take to work for you. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code FANTASYDIRT and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code FANTASYDIRT on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need a win to receive the $50 bonus. It's like free money, guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. To close out, just because you brought it up about Rachaad White, the Buccaneers' schedule down the stretch, I don't think you're going to find that situation that you're describing with a whole lot of frequency. This is their schedule the rest of the way. They've got Carolina this week. Now, maybe Carolina plays the way that they did against the Kansas City Chiefs, and maybe they're getting better, and maybe that's a tougher matchup than we're projecting, but still. Then they've got Vegas. Then they've got the Chargers. That's a tough one. Then they've got Dallas. Then they've got Carolina again, and then they've got the Saints.
Yeah, I think that's a big one in championship week. But again, I mean, like,
a stretch run that spells Bucky.
It looks like it, but the Cowboys just beat the Commanders in Washington. And Carolina just gave Kansas City everything they could handle. But on the surface, I would 100% agree with you. But we all know, what I like to say about the predictability of the NFL. The only thing predictable about it is it's unpredictability. So, but yeah, no, 100% agree with you there. And good call on your part, Bucky Irving. And I like Bucky Irving. I wasn't on him like you, but I like him. He was in my startums last week, and he will be in the started sit-em column this week as well.